Good morning, all. It is February 14th, Valentine's Day 2021, here in snowy Seattle. My name is Beth Chronister, and I serve here as your assistant minister. And on this morning, I am joined by Melody Moberg, our Director of Religious Education, Dwight on the keys, and Jackson Byron back on tech. We all came here together through the wind and the snow to bring you this service this morning. I hope you are safe. I hope you are warm, and I hope you are well this weekend with this snowstorm. One quick announcement is that next Sunday afternoon on February 21st, there's going to be a UUC advocacy workshop. And so this will be a kind of an introduction to how to do virtual lobbying. And also, what are some of the bills that are being heard within the legislature and the Washington State Legislature right now concerning climate, race, policing, immigration, and economic justice, housing, and homelessness. So look to the Gateway and the website for more information for next Sunday. And also, I'd like to share that the theme of today's worship service is Youth Experiences of the Pandemic. This morning is our annual youth service. And this worship service will include videos and words from UUC middle and high school students, reflecting on what this time has meant to them, and reflections also from Melody and myself. Welcome to worship this morning. It is good to be together. Let us begin our service.
Today's call to worship is by Laura Thompson. Across the distance, the light from within me shines, sending love to all. Across the distance, your light is fuel that warms me and helps to keep my own light burning. Together, we keep the flame of community burning bright. Now, please join in singing our doxology, followed by hymn number 389, Gathered Here.
Gathered here in the mystery of the body.
We are approaching the 1-year mark of living during a global pandemic. For this worship service, we asked middle and high school youth to reflect on their experiences during the past year. Some youth wanted to share with us their activities and projects. Avery Walker shared this image of her pandemic project, which is studying driver's ed online. And here is Avery's sibling, Elliot Walker, playing her favorite game, Guess Who? Judas Knox shared 2 videos with us. The first is of things he made, and the second is of something he destroyed.
May have been sort of a terrible year, but at least I got the chance to make a lot of art.
We will hear more from youth and what they've been up to during the pandemic later in this service. I was inspired by these 4 examples of pandemic projects: learning something new, playing together, making art, and destroying things. It has been really hard to learn in the last year. But kids, teens, parents, caregivers, teachers, and college students are working hard to figure out new ways of teaching and learning. For many kids, it's hard to even remember what in-person school was like. Some families have been spending way more time together than they have before. And so board games, puzzles, and building Legos are great creative ways to be together in new ways. A lot of the pandemic projects I've encountered fall in the category of creating things. Some people learned how to sew in the last year, and then used these new skills to sew masks for their friends and family. Some people are cooking more, gardening, painting, knitting. Some people even gather on porches or in parks to play music together, as I know some of you do. I appreciate that Judas shared with us both things that he created and things that he destroyed. The pairing of his videos points to a profound truth, that creation and destruction are tied together. Spiritual practices are another form of a pandemic project that has been gaining in popularity. These are tools like meditation or prayer, which help us connect to our deepest selves and to the world around us. Creating things and destroying things can be a form of spiritual practice. Tibetan Buddhist monks create intricate mandalas out of colorful sand, only to sweep them away once they are finally completed. This practice is a spiritual reminder that nothing is permanent. We can see that creation and destruction are tied together in nurse logs. These are ancient, dead trees found in places like the Hoh rainforest. As the trees are slowly destroyed through decomposition, they feed and support new trees. New trees and whole, teeming communities of life are supported by nurse logs. Volcanoes are another example of how creation and destruction are tied together. The destructive force of volcanoes and lava, slowly growing under the ocean, creates new islands which rise out of the sea. One place we see the wisdom of creation and destruction being linked together is in the religion of Hinduism. In this tradition, time doesn't move like a line. It moves like a spiral. And in this spiral of time, the world comes in and out of existence through the collaborative work of three gods. The world is created by Brahma, maintained by Vishnu, and then destroyed by Shiva, and then created by Brahma, and the cycle continues on. Creation of the new world requires the destruction of the old world. I wonder what structures are crumbling like old gingerbread houses that have served their purpose. And I wonder what new life in you needs to bud, root, and grow like a sapling on a nurse log.
On the second Sunday of each month, we share our offering with an outside organization doing good work in the larger community. And on this morning, we're going to share our plate with the Sunrise Movement, the Seattle hub of the Sunrise Movement, which is a youth-led movement for climate justice. And this was an organization that was actually chosen by the youth group to receive the offering plate this morning, and we will hear from them now.
Hey everyone, my name is Chloe. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the outreach team lead for the Sunrise Seattle Hub. Sunrise is a national movement building an army of young people to stop climate change and create millions of good jobs in the process. So in this video, I'll talk a little bit more about what Sunrise is and what the Seattle Hub is like, but for more information, you can always visit sunrisemovement.org. Alright, so let's get into it. The Sunrise Movement was formed in 2017 out of a desire to take more urgent, pressing action toward the climate crisis. We welcome any young person under the age of 35, but believe that everyone and anyone has something to contribute to the movement regardless of your age. So the Sunrise Movement has 11 principles that all of our members and all of our hubs abide by and uphold, and they are as follows. Principle 1, we are a movement to stop climate change and create millions of good jobs in the process. Number 2, we grow our power through talking to our communities. Number 3, we are Americans from all walks of life. Number 4, we are nonviolent in word and deed. Number 5, we tell our stories and we honor each other's stories. Number 6, we ask for help and we give what we can. Number 7, we take initiative. Number 8, we embrace experimentation and we learn together. Number 9, we take care of ourselves, each other, and our shared home. Number 10, we stand with other movements for change. And number 11, we shine bright. So you may have heard of the Green New Deal, whether from social media or the Sunrise sit-ins at Nancy Pelosi's office, but what is it exactly? The Green New Deal is a 10-year plan to completely mobilize every aspect of American society to shift to 100% renewable, safe, and clean energy by 2030. In doing so, it would create millions of jobs in the process. So it's not one piece of legislation or a single bill. It's a radical vision for a better world, guided by the principles that every human is entitled to basic human rights, including clean water, clean air, healthy food, and access to nature. If you remember the Sunrise principles that we just discussed, the Green New Deal aligns with a lot of our core values, which is why we campaign and support it wholeheartedly. So our hub, the Sunrise Seattle Hub, was founded in January 2019, and right now we have about 9 teams, and some of them include outreach, justice and equity, trainings, communication, social media, community building, and a whole lot more. We have had amazing growth in this past year, and we're always looking to add new members, have new teams, and are excited to hear what ideas y'all have for starting them. Through our work with partner organizations and volunteers and supporters, we have successfully convinced Representative Jayapal and Representative Smith to support the federal resolution for a Green New Deal. We have organized 4 actions at Senator Cantwell and Senator Murray's offices, also asking them to pledge their support for the federal Green New Deal. We have supported coalition efforts to pass a citywide Green New Deal here in Seattle, and we presented to over 1,500 students in the greater Seattle area. So we're continually looking to grow and improve our work, and are so energized and excited by the support of people like you. Please let us know if you have any questions about Sunrise or our work in general.
Thank you for your generosity this morning and giving what you can to support the Sunrise Movement Seattle Hub. Would you please join me now in saying the words we say each week for our offering? This church is a community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. When we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it.
Please join me in the spirit of prayer or meditation. Feel your body connecting to the ground, the floor, or your chair. Imagine you can breathe through every cell and feel your body come alive with breath. We are a congregation, separate yet linked together, an interdependent web of people who care for each other. And now we breathe together from our separate spaces. Some of us are lonely. Some of us are craving space. Some of us are joyful. Some of us are grieving. And some of us are numb. May we care for ourselves deeply and reverently. Be graced with the spacious capacity to care for our neighbors, and be held by both community and creation. In this time of disconnect and struggle, let us remember that we are still a community, a tapestry of people experiences, theologies, connections, and beating hearts. We are connected to our Unitarian Universalist ancestors and mentors, to those we love who have died. And we are the ancestors and mentors to generations of Unitarian Universalists yet to come. Even during struggle, these connections draw us together. And when we struggle, may we always remember there is more love somewhere. To these imperfect words, we add the silent intentions of our hearts. We will hear from 5 middle and high school youth about their experiences of the pandemic. There will be 4 videos, 2 of which are interviews. Our testimonials begin with a letter by Ming Parsons Chen, informing her past self of all that will happen during the COVID-19 pandemic. The letter is titled, "A Letter to Me from Me." Dear past self, it's me. I mean, it's you from the future. Don't worry. I'm not here to haunt you, just inform you. You're 14, finally. You're graduating 8th grade in the summer and starting high school in the fall. It seems like everything's starting to click into place. In your current reality, that's not really the case anymore. Here in my present, there's a pandemic happening. An outbreak called COVID-19. I know you've heard of it, and I know you don't think much of it now. However, this is so much bigger than you ever thought it would ever be. People will die. All over the world, people are going to die. People you don't know even exist until they're gone. Isn't that a sad reality? And some people you do know will die. You're going to miss school, graduation, setting foot in high school for the very first time, and so much more. You're going to think the world is ending and turned upside down because that was me. And guess what? You're not going to understand any of it, and that's okay because you will. You're going to get sick of your family. It's true, and it's okay. They will get sick of you too, and that is also okay. Take breaks, go on walks, talk to your dog, and do new things. It doesn't have to be big, just one thing. Some days you're going to feel like everything is wrong, and you'll want to hate the world desperately. And don't even get me started on the loneliness. When you start to feel that, I want you to do something. I want you to step back for a moment and look around and think about everyone else in the world. Maybe this could be just once a day or once a week or whenever you feel control slipping away. When that happens, and it will happen, remember this. People are suffering, will be suffering constantly. People far less privileged than you, but they are people still. I need you to remember that you are lucky. You are so, so lucky. Past me, this pandemic is going to alter your world in so many ways. But you will be okay. Remember that. Always remember that. You are going to make it through this. It will change your life, yes, but it will change it in good ways as well as bad. Trust me, I would have loved to receive this letter from myself a long time ago, but I'm sending it to you now in hopes you will make something good out of it. You are lucky, you are loved, and you will get through this. Sincerely, me.
Hi, my name is Phil, and my pronouns are he and him.
What has your life been like since the pandemic started last March?
It's been just kind of staying at home and only going out to exercise or do like an errand or something.
What's remote school like for you?
It's okay. We get meetings and then teachers teach stuff, and if we get assignments to do, we do that. We return it, but there's not too much interaction online, and you don't see many faces.
What's particularly hard about the past year for you? What are you missing?
I guess I miss interactions, and I don't know, like to really just kind of the days kind of just blur together, I guess. Whereas at least when you were going to school early, it might get a little boring, but at least it was kind of different each day.
How has the pandemic impacted your family, friendships, or the way that you view the world?
Like I'm with my family, but I haven't really seen anyone who's not in Seattle. And for friendships, I have only really, I've talked with a few people, but most of my friends I haven't really talked to because I usually just talk to them at school.
What sustains you during the pandemic? What kind of activities do you do?
I really like Legos, so I do that a lot. I watch YouTube videos. I don't know, I read a lot.
Hey everyone, my name is Owen Dombrowski. I'm in 9th grade, currently 14 years old, and I go to University Prep. Today is February the 7th. You know, it's been almost a year now since the beginning of the COVID pandemic. And in the past year, you know, we've all faced lots of hardship, many challenges, boredom, staying inside, of course. And for many people, such as people of color, queer people, and immigrants, the last year has also been full of injustice, oppression, but also hope and challenges to injustice and oppression, like the BLM protests and, you know, other movements against injustice and systematic oppression. For me personally, you know, I've had to move school online. You know, my hobbies have sort of been brought to a halt. Sports has been canceled. And moving out has been sort of hard for me. You know, now I am currently starting my second semester. Things are going rough, but, you know, I'm working hard and things are going to get better. Looking forward to the coming months and years, the one thing that I would say to all Unitarian Universalists is that we need to hold out hope, we need to keep having empathy, and we need to build solidarity against oppression and injustice. Thank you all.
I'm Autumn, and I use she, her pronouns.
What has your life been like since the pandemic started last March?
Well, I'd say last March I was an 8th grader who was very nervous for high school, and I had many, worries about the future. And then the pandemic happened, and I graduated middle school, and I entered high school, and I started driving, and I went through a lot of growth, and I'm really appreciative of that. And I don't know, I think I've just, I've seen a lot, and I've educated myself on lots of different things, but I also have kept many things in my life steady, and I just think that both of those things I'm really grateful for.
What's remote school like for you?
I don't know, it's nice to have a schedule, and I rely on it pretty heavily. I wake up on the weekends at 6:45 like, oh my gosh, gotta get my computer, but then I remember that I don't have to do a Zoom. And so it's just I don't know, like waking up and having somewhere to be almost. It feels like I have somewhere to be, even though it's just my desk. And I feel like in 8th grade, it wasn't that special. It was just like you could come to the Zoom. I don't know. It was all kind of all over the place. And so I'm really glad that they have been, it's like real school almost, except no faces are shown.
What's been particularly hard about the last year for you? Are there things that you're missing?
Yeah, I'm definitely missing some past friends that I, saw at school all the time, and just casual conversations between school friends or someone in a class that I would only talk to like in that specific class. And so yeah, I'm just missing being able to sit at my desk and talk to the person next to me and not be really scared of how close I am to them. So I think probably just missing the multitude of relationships and how many I had, and I just didn't even realize how many people I appreciated.
Has the pandemic impacted your family at all?
I'd say that my family is very lucky that we have not really been impacted, besides, quarantining and having to buy masks and all the supplies that someone might need. So we have not interacted, or we have not had COVID, any of us. And so I'm very privileged to say that, because it's impacted many families much heavier. Yeah, I just think that it's a privilege to be able to say that it has impacted us very little.
Have your politics, values, or understandings of social justice changed in the last year?
I would say in a very big way it has, because of the protests in June for Black Lives Matter. And I supported Black Lives Matter beforehand, but in a way it opened my eyes it opened a whole new set of doors to like subtopics and like different injustices that the Black community kind of goes through that I wasn't so aware of. And so I'm grateful to have been at a church that would have like Black Lives Matter, I don't know about protests, but just like awareness like in the front of the church. And so even though it had always been a part of my values, it just like opened that set of doors of more education to like environmental racism, or the amount of police brutality against Black people in this country.
What sustains you during the pandemic? Have you taken up any new activities, hobbies, crafts, or self-care practices?
I have continued to do dance over Zoom, and so that's really important to me to have that as a something to fall back on and just always have around, because I learn new dances and continue to grow and learn new skills, and I'm just so grateful for that, because if I was just at the same level I wouldn't be as happy as I am with dance right now. And another thing that you taught me, or the rest of COA, I think, is to, draw your hand as you breathe in and out. And then, yeah, so whenever I'm stressed about a deadline or recording something like music, I just do that to help calm myself down, and it's really nice.
Awesome. What do you wish that people in our congregation knew about teen experiences of the pandemic?
I think that I wish people knew in the congregation that we as youth have faith that we can get through it, and that we're not envisioning our futures on Zoom, but we're looking past that and like imagining just how much we can do with what we've learned, social justice wise or environmentally, and just so taking what we've learned through our time in the pandemic and trying to make an impact after the fact. Yeah.
Thanks, Autumn.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ivan Levy, and I'm 13 years old and in 7th grade, and my family runs. Last year, my parents and I were in the middle of running a total of 50 kilometers by the time my parents turned 50, and I was beating them in every race. However, cancer and COVID put a stop to that. My dad got stage 4 cancer, and in fact, the week he came home from the hospital was the week COVID shut us all down. We started wearing 2 masks and isolating ourselves completely. However, the silver lining is that it brought my siblings back home from college. I started listening to music my brother Max gave me, hanging out in my brother Sam's room, and doing yoga with my sister Kaya. We also got a dog named Diesel, who I love and he loves me. He is a small, fearful, ball-loving dog who likes to run, just like us. But after a year of online school, I'm out of shape, and I can barely keep up with my dad. But I'm gaining on him.
Bring it back on. Okay. Thank you to all of those youth who contributed their stories and their reflections. What shaped you when you were young? For each young person, there are events and relationships and moments that give shape to our lives. And there's no way around this truth, whether or not one would have chosen their circumstances. We are interdependent creatures, and we are shaped indelibly by our environments and our connections. As Pierre Teilhard de Chardin spoke, we are one after our all, you and I. Together we suffer, together exist, and forever will recreate each other. Different generations come to be defined by the larger events of their youth. My parents, both born as part of the baby boom post-World War II, came of age during the second wave of feminism, the protest against the Vietnam War, and were young during the Southern Black freedom struggle. In these larger experiences, these experiences shared with the nation and the globe, they changed their trajectories in life, formed their identities, and informed their choices when it came to welcoming and raising the next generation. And so, what are some of your earliest memories of an event that extended beyond your childhood world? What happened in your youth or young adulthood that impacted you so deeply that your life path changed? The pandemic and its multitude of impacts, the death of George Floyd and the uprisings for racial justice that followed, the attack, the right-wing attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. These events, while certainly they impact people of all ages, unquestionably impact everyone, but these events make up some of what is shaping and informing young people today. As an intergenerational community, and as members of families, we would be wise to attune to what has been traumatic and what has been transformative for young people this past year. The last year will have impacts that stretch far into the future. We know this. We know that the pandemic's impact and the failings of our healthcare system will linger after a vaccine, that the violence of racism will not be solved by policy or an educational program, and we know that our political strife will not been or has not been fixed by a change in presidency. We know this. However, I also imagine there might be a rush to normalcy once we can safely gather in person. A rush to make up for lost time, lost experiences, and an unspoken pressure to forget. There is cultural pressure to do so. We are a country that lives more in the present and will sometimes, often, be cut off from the past. And so hearing the stories and the wisdom of some of the youth of our church community today, it raises certain questions for us all to grapple with. How will we remember this time? Why will we remember? And why might we forget? How will we support one another to integrate our traumas and bear witness to one another's grief? And importantly, how will we take what was learned and what was experienced during this year and let it guide us toward a future yet unknown? A future where I hope, where some of the youth hope also, that there is more equity, more intentionality in our relationships, more care for children, youth, elders, and the most vulnerable in society. As a religious community, we are endowed with certain gifts to meet these big open questions. We are blessed to be an intergenerational community where we can listen deeply to one another, practicing curiosity and compassion to connect across the generations. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe people are worthy of being heard and that the individual journey is significant. Being part of a community means that our individual experiences are not just our own, but can be witnessed, held, shared, and expanded through being in relationship of radical hospitality and welcome with one another, listening to each other's truth, and seeking a deeper understanding of life through our relationships. In this community of faith, we have practices of making meaning together, in listening attentively to what is emerging not only for individuals, but for our community and our living tradition as a whole. This listening, this slowing down, is a gift indeed in a culture that prioritizes consumption over contemplation and prescription over holy praise. This past year has been a year that required people to put their heads down and get through one day, 1 hour at a time. And yet, even during this time of much destruction, there has been great creation. As Melody and the youth shared this morning, creation and destruction are two partners in a cosmic dance throughout our lives. And so I ask you, where did you hear the rumblings of creativity this morning? When was Spirit moving and wisdom springing forth from out of the destruction? Listen closely to the wisdom of the nurse log, who knows that destruction might just create space for new life. And so my final question to each and all of you this morning: what is being born right now? What is being born in you and within our community? And how will we show up as midwives in this becoming? An unknown future awaits. We face it together. Blessed be. Would you please join now in singing hymn number 1021, Lean on Me? Yeah. Our benediction this morning comes from the Reverend Sarah York. We receive fragments of holiness, glimpses of eternity, brief moments of insight. Let us gather them up, for the precious gifts that they are, and renewed by their grace, move boldly into the unknown. Blessings on your way, my friends. It is good to be a community together.